How you doing? I hope you're doing well today. Today I wanted to come out and talk about a topic that's been on my mind, something I was just reflecting on a few moments ago. And that topic is when I hear people talk about doing the work, doing the inner work, working hard on themselves. I have to be honest, it kind of has me go, huh? What? I don't quite understand the concept. And I get that that's kind of the popular thing to do the work on yourself. And yet, I don't know that it's necessary. It feels to me like an innocent misunderstanding of kind of how we work as human beings. So back in 2018-ish, I kind of started on this journey of what I call self-discovery. Now, I don't think I ever thought I had to work on myself. I don't think I ever thought I was broken. I just thought that there was something about life I wasn't seeing. And so I started on this little journey of my cat in the background, reading books and hiring coaches and, one might say trying to discover myself. And even that now, I think back and I think, wow, that's not where it's at either, because I was looking for something outside of myself to help me discover who I was. Why would I do that? Why would I look outside myself to discover who I am? Well, first of all, I didn't know that I should be looking within, so there's that. And second of all, it's really easy, I think, to get swept up in the idea that somebody else has your answers. Like somebody else had my answers. I needed to go and read books and figure out what other people knew that I didn't know. And I've come to discover that their insights came from the same about themselves and about life, come from the same place that my insights come from. They come from within me. They come from that spiritual nothingness from which everything comes. And I'm no different than anybody else. I have the same access to that spiritual nothingness as anybody else. And I have discovered that looking in that direction has helped me find answers. And now, when I hear about people or hear people talking about doing the work, it's curious to me that we feel as though or think that there is a there is a place to get to, as if we get to this place and we live happily ever after. If we get to this place, then whatever happened in the past just disappears. If we reframe it enough, if we analyze it and process it enough, then somehow it becomes, I don't know, healthy. But honestly, I'm coming to realize that that is counterintuitive, right? If I have a cut on my hand, if I pick at it and pick at it, pick at it, I get an infection. In fact, my cat just spent a week in a cone because he licked at a sore on his leg and he got an infection, right? What we really needed him to do was leave it alone so it could heal. And we know that about our bodies. There are sometimes our bodies need a little support in the case of, some kind of a medication because we're ill, or, we need to clean out a cut and maybe get some stitches. We need some support, but ultimately we need to let the body do what it does in order to heal. And here's the gig. Just like the body has an immune system, so does the mind. The mind has its own inner immune system. In a lot of cases, that's called forgetting, leaving alone and forgetting things that happened in the past. not bringing them up again and again and re-examining and processing and analyzing, because that really just keeps it alive. It keeps it top of mind. And if it's true that we feel our thinking, and in my experience, that's absolutely true, then every time I bring up an old memory and I process it and I analyze it and I look at it and I try to figure out how to fix it, then I'm just going to be in that feeling all over again. No matter how many times I bring up an old past experience, consciousness is going to bring that to life in my body and I'm going to feel it. So at no point does rehashing and remembering and rearranging and kneading and playing with an old memory ever going to make me feel better. It's like meatloaf. If you've ever made meatloaf, then you know that you need to knead the meat and the breadcrumbs and the seasonings very gently and very little, because the more you knead it, the tougher it gets, right? The more we knead our old past experiences, the tougher they get, the more they hang around, the more they come back to haunt us. And yet when we put them down and leave them alone, they don't tend to come up as much. Or if they do, they're a little easier to just put it aside. One example of this is I had someone I was having a conversation with one day, and they had a memory that came up for them. And they said, oh, boy, I guess I have more work to do on that thought, or that memory. I guess they didn't say thought. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, it came up again. So obviously I need to do more work on it so it doesn't come up again. And for me, that little conversation is proof of a very innocent misunderstanding that the work makes the thoughts not come back anymore. When the truth is, the leaving it alone is what makes it not come back anymore. And and gaining an understanding that we feel whatever thought is in our mind in this moment makes me personally not want to think about the old bad stuff, even if it does come up, which is just part of the gig. Things come to mind, something reminds you of something. It happens, good or bad. But that doesn't mean you have to hang out with it and invite it in for tea and spend time working on it. Really, not working on it, letting it go, being in the moment with whatever's happening right here, right now. That's where the juice is. That's where freedom is. That's where peace of mind, mental well-being, resilience, and confidence comes from. Comes from being here right now with whatever's happening in front of you. That's it. That's all you need to focus on. Nobody needs to focus on old past stuff. And because we are meaning-making machines, I would invite you to consider the possibility that if you don't work on old thoughts, if you don't spend time fixing them or changing them, it may not mean anything about you, right? I know that for me, there were times where I thought, this thought about my son pops into my head, and if I don't spend time with it and I don't try to figure it out and I don't try to fix it, it means something about me as a person or as a mother. But I've come to realize that that's not true. It doesn't mean anything about me. And nobody's ever going to know a thought popped into your head anyway, except you. There's no such thing as the thought police, I heard once upon a time, and I thought that was great. Nobody knows what thought pops into your head, good, bad, or indifferent. Nobody is judging what you do with that thought. except you. And you don't have to. I don't have to. It's very possible that we could leave the past in the past, be with whatever's in the moment, and live our lives very happily, moment to moment, just living in the moment with whatever's happening now, and never have to do a lick of work on our past experiences. It's very possible we could do that. That might even be the definition of happiness, I would say. Wouldn't that be cool? But hey, don't take my word for it. Take a look at it for yourself. Notice when you have a thought from the past that comes up and you spend your time analyzing and trying to figure it out, how does that make you feel? Does it feel good? Or does it feel heavy and tense? Does it give you a feeling of stress or anxiety? If it does, you don't have to play with it. You can put it down. Another thought will take its place, I promise you, because that's how the mind works. And then notice what happens when you're here in the moment, when you're actually paying attention to what's happening now, right here, right now. How do you feel? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel calm? Do you feel at peace? And then decide for yourself. Do you want to continue to work on what happened in the past? Or do you want to just be here now? Check it out. See for yourself. See what you discover. You might just surprise yourself. All right, that's what I had to talk about today. I hope some of that resonated and made sense for you, made sense for you, resonated with you. And yeah. And what I would say, what just popped into my head was, if you feel upset or offended by the idea that I'm suggesting that you don't have to work on yourself, that might actually be a clue. That might be a clue that you might be taking the working on yourself a little too seriously. Because I know for me, if I get offended, I don't really get offended, but if I get upset about something that someone's suggesting I don't need to do, it's probably because somewhere in my head I think I do. But if I get curious and I question myself, do I really need to do this? It's a good bet I'm going to figure out the answer is no. But again, don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. See what occurs to you. And I'll talk to you again another time. Take care.